Hi everybody, I'm Martin Kramer. This is the first session of Learning Breakthroughs. It's a series of short videos of my own and my friends' learning breakthroughs. This first session is on risk management. Many of us have learned how to do risk management. According to PMI, the Project Management Institute, here's what you do. First, you identify risks and put them into a risk register. Second, you perform a qualitative and quantitative analysis on the risks identified. Third, you plan the risk response. And fourth, along the way, you monitor and control your project risks. Before you do all that, when you start a project, you create a risk management plan. So far, so good. Now, in the projects I ran as a project manager, I did my best to follow this process. I also read books on risk management, read blog articles. Some of them told me that risk management is the most important, not often underrated, discipline in project management. Yet, I was never really happy with how this process worked. For instance, often we started to identify risks, then we analyzed them and we put them into the risk log. This usually worked quite well. But when we failed to regularly follow up, or we followed up and identified mitigation actions for new risks, but at the end of the day we failed to actually execute this. Often I heard statements like, we should do the following, or it would be great if somebody could do this or that to mitigate the risks. Well, overall, I had the impression that managing risks stayed a rather theoretical exercise and failed to have a profound impact on project success. But then I had this learning breakthrough, this one moment that helped me understand what is really important about risk management. Here's the context. I was the program manager for an international HR payroll outsourcing program. We moved the payroll from the internal HR organization to an external payroll service provider. We would do this in a country-by-country fashion and have around 3 to 5 country projects run in parallel. The whole program would run for nearly a decade. So here's the story. In one of the regular steering committees, we brought in the important stakeholders from HR and IT. The CIO and the Vice President HR were in the room as well. And I remember we put up a slide that said something like, we need 100,000 euros for risk mitigation. We proposed several actions to prevent risks to become issues. Among the maybe top 5 mitigations, one action was to keep a subject matter expert for longer and for more time than we actually estimated. Just as a risk mitigation actions. Wow, you might say 100,000 euros just for mitigating risks, keeping costly experts around just in case. Yet I was confident that we needed to do something to address the risks we had in our aggressive rollout plans. Frankly, I expected quite some debate and pushback on this action plan. But in the end, the steering committee went along with our advice and we started to put the actions in place. Then, just 2 weeks later, our main SPP expert goes on a bike tour over the weekend. And guess what? He has an accident and breaks his arm, needs surgery and can't come back for work for several weeks, I remember. Which happened to be the time that he was intensively needed on the project. But as we now had the external expert available as well, we could seamlessly take the work from him over to the expert. And in the end, we successfully delivered all payroll projects of this release cycle as planned. What did I learn from this? First, risk management is all about the actions you initiated from it. It's not about having a great risk register. If you don't derive any concrete actions out of it, the register is pretty much useless. If you keep on talking about what should be done, but don't invest the effort to actually do it, risk management will only take up your time and will not help you to deliver successfully. Second, being transparent about our action plan helped us to make an informed decision. That is, we could have saved the money for risk mitigation to implement additional features, for instance, or save it to make the project cheaper. But all too often, as you know, things don't happen the way we planned them. And in this specific case, it would have taken a lot of time to get another expert and then to configure the payroll system. It would have definitely delayed the project, which in turn would have had a severe impact on the cost side as well. Third, many people are risk aware. If you present them a plan on how to deal with risk, often they are quite willing to invest to be assured that things run smoothly. Then, in case you make an informed decision not to invest into risk mitigations, you're not alone in this anymore. That is, your team and the stakeholders have jointly decided to accept the risks. When it turns into an issue, you're all together in it. And that helps enormously to address it successfully. Every project is different. So what's your takeaway? In risk management, don't use words like should. For example, you should do the following to mitigate the risk. Instead, derive concrete actions from your work on the risk log. Now, since usually you cannot implement concrete actions for all your project risks, you need to decide which risks to focus on. And then you make a conscious decision to accept the other risks. How about the following rule? You only put risk mitigations in your risk log if you're actually committed to do them. If you're not committed, clearly mark the relevant risks as accepted. Then, be transparent about the action plan. Be ready to have a discussion about it. Be ready to change the action plan in case there are good arguments for it. Involve your team into that exercise. Involve the stakeholders. If a risk that you have decided to accept then actually turns into an issue, deal with it. Knowing you and your team have consciously decided to accept the risk. This creates a healthy balance between active risk mitigations and having a plan B for the time the risk becomes an issue. Don't invest too much into having very detailed contingency plans though. Rather stay agile enough to refocus once an issue appears. Have regular retrospective and use them to become better in the decision-making process. That's it for today. Thanks for watching. If you like these stories of learning breakthroughs, subscribe to my channel and click the bell. Also let me know your feedback and your stories. What worked for you? What are your challenges? I'm Martin Kramer. Thanks for watching. Bye.